Come on, guys.
Let's do this.
I love the look of this door.
Wow, I do need it.
Dude, I can't even wait. I can't even
about
wait.
to happen right now?
Damn, it's so different.
Oh my goodness.
Holy shit, this place is blowing up.
Hey, it's Subcool WeedNerd.
MzJill.
Get your bowls,
And your dongs.
your pipes, your
And your
vaporizers.
big fat blunts.
It's time to get high with the WeedNerd. Well, I'm a weed nerd. Just call me smoke a lot. Don't give me that thing on the crack. Now we know study got weed nerd. Nothing but the hard way. So won't you come my way? So won't you come my way? Weed nerd. Just call me smoke a lot. Don't give me that thing on the crack. Now we know study got weed nerd. Nothing but the hard way. Smoke a lot of herb, smoke a lot of herb.
Come on, weed nerds, let's all get down to that old school sound with that K-Lou pound. Put seeds in the ground, tilling up the dirt. Shovel in my hand and I'm putting in work. Weed nerd, connoisseur, growing the killer. In the backyard with the mountain gorilla. Game stiller, still another, what you think? MzJill's got tips on growing the dang. Cheesequake, Aldo, Indo funky. Time wreck, hash laced in my blunt seat. Skunky, smelly, space bomb sticky. Stepped in the dough, got the whole team with me. Iggy Pops, my city's hot. Ukiah, California, got the green on lock. Chillin' in my weed crop, blowing some herb. Dope boy, OD, yeah, I'm a weed nerd.
Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? I appreciate that, Minnesota Nice. Nice intro there. So we have a pretty cool show for you guys tonight. We lighten the panel, and we've got an old friend, Tommy. We're going to tell some stories. We're going to talk shop. We'll talk about breeding, all kind of good stuff. So that's why we have a small panel tonight, because me and Tommy are going to try to get with it a little later on. I got a couple things to go over with you guys on the start of the show. Welcome, everybody, of course. I want to kick it real quick over to Minnesota Nice and find out how his week went and find out what's going on with growing together.
What's up, weed nerds? Glad to be here with you guys tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We are doing great over here with growing together. So we just were at the High Times Cannabis Cup. Malik and myself got to go around. We got to meet lots of different vendors and tell our story to a whole plethora of weed nerds. And it was very exciting, and it was extremely satisfying that we got the support that we did at the Cannabis Cup. And I just want to thank High Times for having us there. That was amazing. You know, it was a great time. And also just want to let everybody know that Growing Together does have a website now. It is running. It's growingtogether.org. Malik will drop the link in chat for everyone. You guys can pop over there and check it out. What we're doing with the show tonight is the giveaway links that our sponsors have donated have actually been donated to Growing Together. And links for the giveaways are on Growing Together's website. We do want everybody to know that the giveaways are a platform used to raise charitable donations, which is really the target of Growing Together. That was the whole reason this show came about, was that we raised money for charity. We helped those in need. And it blossomed into an amazing thing that we cannot lose traction on. So just remember that when you're signing up for the giveaways. You can drop us a couple bucks for a donation. It goes to those in need. There are people that need it a lot more than we do. So, and
Absolutely.
That's pretty much where we're at. And Malik, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, come check us out on the site. We got some awesome NPK Raw solubles. NPK Industries gave us 2-part microbes, 2-part grow and bloom, some fulvic acid, humic acid, kelp, and like Minnesota Nice said, huge shout out to High Times and Dr. Purple OD, Tim Schwerin, Brandon, Hustle King, Chino, Michigan Matt, Joey Wan, Med Grower, Mr. Tight, just everybody. So awesome. If you didn't make this cup, check out the next one because it was dope. Back over to you, Sub.
On that real quick. So Minnesota Nice, this was your first big cup, yeah?
Yeah, this was my cup, my first cup as a vendor. I have been to cups before in the past as a consumer, and I must say that this was a completely different experience. There was some game-changing experiences in my life. I had no clue that I had the respect that I did from the weed nerd community, and I want to thank everybody. I had some weed nerds come out from New York to meet me. And I thought that that was the most exhilarating experience I've ever encountered. People came to see me. They came to talk about growing together. They came to talk TGA genetics, no-till soil. It was absolutely amazing. So
I also understand you got a little bit of that. Hey, there's Minnesota Nice. There's that famous guy.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. They were rocking him left and right. And just huge shout out to all the boys. Even Scotty Reel from Dude Grows Crew came out, and I believe he said to Minnesota, like, hey man, you know, you're kind of like the one that started it all. You're like the reason. Like, so it was epic.
Well, then I got to tell you, his Minnesota Nice, he'll be back in a second. I don't know what if he popped out, but his passion for this is one of the reasons it is going to continue, because it's a lot of work. It's an enormous amount of work. And this is what I was going to address anyway, that he's not here. So one of the things, and I'm not asking you guys to do this, okay? So when we started the show, you guys would flip off and hit $10, $20, $40, $50, and we raised a bunch of money. But pretty much all the people that are watching me in the channel right now have all donated. So if you feel like making a donation to Growing Together, that's fine. But that's why we put the gather part in. We got to start. There you go, CB. Thank you for the $20 donation. And that's in honor of Duke Diamond. But we want you guys to donate some stuff, hydro equipment, lights, anything like that, so that we can put it up on these giveaways and actually raise a little bit of money. Now, me and Minnesota Nice were talking earlier. We got to make sure we don't give $1,000 light away for $600, but we will figure that stuff out. The other thing is we have a Gleam contest going. So I have all kind of stuff that I've been giving. People give me.
Absolutely.
Some vintage calendars. Well, we'll pretty much, I'm telling you, Malik, right now, too. We can just get this stuff on the site. I got a couple of them.
All right.
People can bid on it. Okay. This is actually really cool. This is a calendar that actually was filmed at Trichome Technology. So we had him on the show not too long ago. That's up on one of the Gleam giveaways. And we have these vintage bags for walls that bales came in. So we're just trying to basically, instead of you guys just giving us money, maybe actually get you guys to donate some money and actually end up something on the wall. Of course, for what it's worth, anytime I give you guys anything, if you want my signature or Jill's signature or anything like that, I'm sure we'll work something like that. So that's the gathering part of this organization. We love your contributions and everything, but we think if you got some stuff laying around, sell it and get it. So a couple of things we want to get into today. As always, shout out to Mendo Dope on the opening song. We love those guys, love the collab. We made some small web changes on the site. Now we click directly to Mendo Dope's website from our site. So we thought that was a good collab. On July 4th, Urban Farmers 4th of July Veterans Charity, Weed for Warriors. Want to make sure that you take part in that. He's going to be raising money for Weed for Warriors. We have, my charity has $450, might as well call it Growing Together because it's in the kitty, that we're going to donate to that charity at the same time. I know Urban Farmer tried to get a GoFundMe page up, but it is not as easy as you would think to give and to get money in this country. All right, weekly contests. We got NPK Raw solubles. We got the vintage BALE bags I just showed you, the vintage calendars. We also have the Gnat pins and WeedNerd stickers. I told Minnesota Nice I would always keep some on the site so you guys get them. I'm surprised we don't get more requests for the WeedNerd pins, the Gnat pins, because you can't buy one. I got one.
Oh, me too. They're awesome. Pimping.
I got to send Minnesota Nice one because he got missed, and I won't forget.
I did get a little envy over here. I saw Malik's Gnat pin at the High Times Cannabis Cup, and I decided I have to have one. So,
hell yeah.
And also we have some shirts and gear from Mark at Greyshock, Mark Greyshock at Greensock Farms, and a Dnail as well. Something happened pretty cool this week that's kind of snuck up on me. So I was reaching 50,000 subscribers. And when I was in the channel doing a little radio show talking about it, smoking some bowls and everything, somebody texted that I had created Join YouTube on June 28th, 2007. So that meant that we hit 50,000 on my 10th year anniversary. So if you have taken the chance to do so, go back and take a look at some of the videos. Some of the stuff ones is like a flip cam taped to my head when I'm taking clones. So if you want to know how to grow pot without all the zing and the zang, that's what we were doing back then. Here's how you top a plant. Here you how to clone a plant. Speaking of that, I want to welcome a very special guest tonight, and we're just going to sit here and ask some questions and bullshit. I want you guys, if you have questions for Duke, to get them into the queue. He'll put up the link, so at the end of this bullshit session here, you guys can ask. I told Minnesota Nice and Malik before I came on. I don't know of any other show that's going to sit here and open you guys up to no stupid questions to me and Duke Diamond. So that should be pretty good. I see Minnesota Nice is breaking out some gooey stuff over there. What you got there, brother?
Yeah, this is the cosmic glue rosin that we actually squished up at the cup. I think if you guys watch, if you watch Mr. Tight's video that he put out on day 2 of the cannabis cup, you'll see us squishing this out, and we got huge returns of lemon lime terps.
And, you know, I was already told that a lot of people, well, let's put it that way. As soon as they smoked your cosmic glue, I think we ran out of those seeds. So thank you for that. All right. I want to kick it over to my good friend, Duke Diamond, in the house tonight. How you doing, brother?
Good, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. You know, Luke talking earlier, complicated, big giant plants outdoor, lots of plants indoors, lots of laws and things and all that stuff going on. But it's a good summer. How about you? Yeah.
Yeah, good, man. Just same shit, different toilet. Just working, doing the same, getting moved, trying to design a off-the-grid house, like out in the middle of nowhere. So I've been working on that some, too.
You gonna do the solar and the whole completely off the grid, geothermal, do the whole 9 yards?
Yeah, so like back in the day, you remember PJ, you know, our buddy PJ. So he was living out in Arizona, and there was like this like a tech school out there that was teaching solar photovoltaics and certified program and all. So I went out and stayed with him, and then got all certified in that, and went back out to Virginia and put it into play. And so I'm gonna do all of my own solar panels, but I'm also gonna do some wind, and then like the solar thermal for the hot water and everything, and try to do some rainwater collection and the whole works, and keep it all sustainable and very quiet. No neighbors, no nothing.
Speaking of rain catchment, we've been talking about that a lot here. We've actually, here in Cali, my area, we're in Zone 4 desert region. We've got to install a catchment system in order to grow cannabis, so they'll leave us alone. But some people say you can't, you can. Can you tell us a little bit about water rights where you are and catchment and your availability of water?
Yeah, some places are weird. Like I knew, and like it doesn't, it's kind of ironic, but like you lived in Oregon, man. It rains its fucking ass off, you know? Like there's a lot of rain, but yet, you know, I found out it was illegal to like catch water there. I was like, really? You know? So, you know, you do have that aspect, and I guess certain counties don't like you to do it, but like out where I'm going, like, you know, you can get water rights. So like in Colorado, they do a lot of flood irrigation, you know, you have the streams and the creeks and all that, and then, you know, call up the ditch boss and they'll, you know, drop in the block and it'll flood out your field and all. You have to pay for that. But like sometimes when you buy land, agricultural and all, it'll come with the water rights and the whole shebang, man. So then you're good to go.
We've been finding out the more we talk, this cannabis movement is going to be all about water rights. So if you got water, it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I want you to tell me, and this ain't on your list, and if I come off your list, that's just the way it is. So I don't know how the hell you met Mr. Soul and how you guys hooked up. I mean, I know me and you have been fans of the Grimm for a long time. So would you mind sharing the story of how you hooked up with Soul and how that came about?
Yeah, we the very first, you know, we were talking on a little bit on Overgrowth, but mostly, you remember Vic High's old site, the BCGA forums and all, and
still got it on my bookmark.
Yeah, it was a lot. It wasn't as many people on there, you know. So like, if you were gonna talk and, you know, talk shop or bullshit, that was the spot to do it at, you know. And it was always cool to watch him and Vic High like go at it with each other, because, you know, Vic, I was a smart motherfucker, man. So yeah, between those two places and just shooting the shit, but you know, everybody, you know, he dipped out and you know, going off the face of the earth, and then you know, I guess shit, I forgot what year it was now, but you were the one that called me up and said, yeah, guess who sent me an email or hollered at you, and you were like, yeah, it was Mr. Soul. I was like, man, go ahead, man. I was like, you think it's really him? And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna look into it. And then you were like, yeah, that's him. And then you hit me up and said, yeah, he needs a job. You know anything going on where you're at? And that's when I was like, yeah, I can get the ball rolling. And simple as that, man. And moved out here and got, nose to the grindstone, grinded it out around the clock, every day of the week. And here we are.
I'll tell you one thing that I hold dear about us, and you got the whole swerve and the MTG and this and that and all that. Well, me and Tommy have been friends forever. Hell, Tommy holds some of my genetics and I hold some of his genetics. And it's a lot nicer to be friends with somebody than it is to be dicks with somebody. And that's why it was really nice to have Tommy on the show.
Dude, that's what bums me out about like Instagram, man. I can't like scroll 2 full scrolls without like 2 people just like bumming me out, man. Like they arguing over nothing and bullshit and drama this and drama that. I'm like, man, fucking smoke some of that.
So I'll tell you,
motherfucker.
Let me tell you a story. I'm gonna bring some of the drama of my world into your world, but I just tell the story real quick because it's so simple. So I'm gonna tell the story quickly and succinctly again. About 3-4 weeks ago, I saw a picture on Instagram of a dude growing some weed. It was Cuvée Tamcoma. I never seen more resin in my fucking life. I said, hey, dude, you seem like a pretty good grower. He said, yeah, I actually breed. I was like, really? He said, yes. I keep looking at his pictures. I said, hey, man, why don't you send me some seeds? He's like, okay. So he sends me some seeds. So I'm actually going to pay $3 a pack to send these to people to grow them out and see if this guy's going to get some good key or not. Great. Yeah. Take a picture, put it online. Well, there's this other dude named Coma, and he's like so upset about this. And the thing that's so funny is here's the drama. Well, the drama is I'm going to give some seeds away to free to some people so I can support a disabled grower who breeds. And it got so loud yesterday that we're not going to proceed. Like we're just going to send the stuff back to the poor guy and we're going to end it because humanity is just so cruel. So yeah, this is what me and Tommy don't believe in. We don't believe in the shit. And in fact, you don't fight you're like me. You don't fight online, right? You just ignore it.
And if somebody's got some shit they want to start or say, they can say it to my fucking face and I'll deal with it accordingly, but most of the time I don't get much of that neither. So I like
You're right.
Cool, calm, and collected, and I just chill and don't start no shit, won't be no shit. And I'm pretty easy dude to get along with. And I figure I ain't fucking nobody over. And as long as ain't nobody fucking me, we're in good shape.
All right, so you got with Soul, and you're in Colorado, and you guys are cranking it up. You got probably some of Soul's old cuts, and you guys start rocking and rolling. And so it's not too long before you guys basically do this. I'm sorry, I put up a website. I'm trying to be mod and host and all at the same time. This is the Brothers Grimm website. And one of the first things I noticed is, you got the Apollo 13 up there, which I love. But I couldn't help notice about the old Green Avenger. And I really like the way you said it, man. You even give me an old shout out,
Yeah, man.
And I talked about how I love that genius. And I do, man. For you guys that hadn't smoked it, it's like smoking cannabis and acid all at the same fucking time. And it's great. And no, I just think it's really cool that you guys have this. And it may seem funny for me to promote genetics, but I will tell you what, if you want something zippy, fast, and tasty, this is the one that I would run. Yeah. So I'm going to get back to the line. So you guys work with a lot of Vic High's stuff, correct?
Not so much. So like you got the Killer Queen that's on there, but it wasn't using any of Vic's Killer Queen. I just took the G13 and we selected a Cindy 99 nail out. Made a good little batch of them, just a little limited, little ode to Vic, So hopefully he'd be happy with them. But they grew, they're real nice, man. Frosty as shit. And got that good narcotic fucking thing going on. Make you nod out.
Now, I'm going to let you correct me because I screw this up all the time, or either I'm going to give you a chance to screw it up too. So when I started doing this, I remember we had P25, we had P50, we had P75, we had Cindy 99. Can you just kind of free talk about that development and how that happened and how important that was to the cannabis breeding community?
Yeah, so where Soul's gonna start out, he's gonna have his little bag seed from that good bag of Jack Herer that he gets. He's gonna smoke it. He's gonna be happy, but he's got some seed. He doesn't know what the daddy is, but he knows he grows these seeds out, and he's gonna end up with 3 really nice girls that are all distinctly different. So you got the princess. then you'll have the genius, and then you have the cafe girl. So I'm gonna take cafe girl out of the equation now because it doesn't exist anymore. But the two main ones were the genius and the princess. So if you know we're coming from we know at least half the parent is Jack Hare, and that's it's a three-way hybrid if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like Durban and NL5 skunk or something, like it's a three-way like that. So you know that like at least half that unit there is, those are the genes that you're going to be working with. So if you look at Genius, and like the Apollo lines, you can see that more sativa influence. You can definitely smoke it and tell, and the way that it grows and all, it's a lot like a Durban plant, but the smell is more of like a lemony lime, more lime than anything, and like a fuely funk that goes along with it. Now you take Princess, it's like straight garlic, BO, grows a little more like a Kush plant, and it's very frosty, and it hits you in the head, and it's kind of, you get the zip to it too, like in the mind, like your thoughts are kind of race and all, kind of trippy, but overall like kind of an indica, kind of a punch to it. So so you take these two examples, and if I'm looking at these two plants, and you're like, all right, here you go, what information and you smoke it, you grow it, go from there. So Soul looking at it, he's like, well, knowing the half the lineage, let's start the process off with something that's kind of already in the gene pool. And if you look at the Princess, you could say, like, if you grew an NL5 back in the day, you would say, okay, Princess that's our NL5 little pheno here. There's other shit in the mix, but it's expressing a lot of the NL, genotype there. So you got that one. Then you look at the other one, you're like, well, it's got the Durban-y kind of look to it, but overall, like it's more like Shiva skunk, like that genius. So, good place to maybe start the male there is Shiva skunk. So, which is NL5 and skunk. So he's going to take this male and he's going to pollinate the princess with it. And you're going to have all these seeds, and that's what he would call the P50 generation, which would mean 50% princess, and 50% will be Shiva skunk. Then you're going to grow those out. You're going to select a male that's, he's trying to replicate this clone to be in a seed so that he could give anybody these seeds and you get little princess plants essentially. So when he grows these out, we're going to be looking for males that are more desirable like princess, not the Shiva skunk side, not so much of a blend of the two, but the ones that are dominant like that. So he'll find that male, and then he'll back cross to that original clone, princess, and then those seeds that'll be had there, that'll be your 75% generation, or P75. He's going to repeat this process once again. Now, as you continue this cubing effect, a lot of people say, well, that's not an interbred line. They're right. This is a way to basically isolate a phenotype, not an entire genotype, But that's the desired goal. It's like, I don't want you with the spice of life there. I want you to, when you sprout the seeds, I want you having princess type plants, So every time he back crosses, you're getting more and more plants that are like they're going to be like the princess. So you started with P50, you back cross, you're at 75, you back cross again, now you're at 88, then you back cross again, you're at like 94%, and then you can do it one more time, and you call that 99%. Even though it's not quite, I think it's like 98.2 or 98.3% or some shit. And from that point, when you grow them out, they're fairly consistent. Now, big misconception is like, when you cube something, that's it. That's game, set, match, and it's all going to come up like clones of each other. And that's not the case. You're still going to get some variance, but the majority of what you see is going to be right up the alley of the clone that you cube. But you might say one's like a little taller, a little squatter, and you might see, you know, the smell on one might curve one way and the other one curves the other way. Nothing too dramatically different, but enough to say, oh, you know what, I really like this particular girl versus the rest of them because, you know, it was more, Jill coming through. It's fine, man. But, yeah, you know, you can get the, you get the little bit of variance to where, because not everybody likes a certain smell. I remember bringing you sour diesel bud all the way from fucking Virginia, came out to see you in Oregon. Here you go, man. I hate it. I don't like it. And I was like, you're like that, the only guy. So, but that's the thing, is not everybody likes everything. So I think it's good to have that little bit of variance to, you know, somebody might like a little more of the pineapple, somebody might like a little more of that BO garlic. Some people might like a little mix of the two, but you give them something pretty consistent to work with from that cube, you know. But I think, like, ideally, like, if you wanted to do something to where it's popping up like clones, that the cubing process would be one tool to use in your overall breeding program. Because, like, if you're trying to lock down smell and structure resin production in this cubing process, you can kind of make like another very similar cubing project, and they're still dissimilar enough to where when you outcross one to the other, you'll end up with another gene pool that should reintroduce vigor from the cubing effect. And then you can start the filial breed from there, maybe, you know, in cross again, or, you know, there's a million ways to skin the cat, but you're talking years, man. Long time, man.
And I hope you guys were paying attention, because what Tommy just talked about was, I'm sorry, Duke, I'm bad about that. What Duke just talked about was history. I know you don't care, but I'm just trying to be consistent. What he talked about was history. This was a year-long project, and then this is when I came on this team. So about that time, I've been traveling to Amsterdam and buying Dutch genetics for my friends. And this is not about ragging the Dutch, because I certainly brought home badass shit from over there. That's not what this is about. But at the time, we were doing phenotype selections on 20 packs of seeds. We buy 2 10-packs for like $600 fucking dollars. And we might find a cherry AK, we might find a Shiva skunk, whatever. We found this and that, and we shared it with each other. And at the time, I was hooked up with Soul and Sly on the boards. I just showed you the BCGA boards. And that's how we actually talk and then communicate with these guys. Well, I'm not sure if my first pack of seeds was free or if I paid like $40, or either I traded. It was something simplistic like that. And I grew it out, and Duke alluded to, no, you don't get exactly the same thing out of it. But what you get is, like, my pack of Apollo was a heavy dominant. You know, at least 6 of them were very, very similar and super, super chirpy, super tasty. The resin profile, we turned and we made hash from them, and we were like, what the hell is this? And I'm going to sound a little bit dumb here, but there was a little bit of period of time. I mean, I thought these guys were breeding something that was completely different. I didn't even know it was the same fucking genus, because it was so consistent and so stable and so potent. And so that's how I started actually growing the stuff. I ended up with one of the few A13 cuts that came out of when Soul went underground, and we can talk about that or not, but Soul basically just disappeared for fucking ever. And then I came back out and I had a seed company for 17 years. And I got to be honest with you, me and Duke have talked about this. Every cup I went to as I was creating TGA with Jill, I would turn around and I go, where the fuck is Soul? I mean, where the fuck is he at? And I think it was last Emerald Cup was one of the first times that Soul was working a booth with Duke, and I was not too far away. And I just felt like the things were right in the damn universe again. So if you guys have not run some of his stuff, and I'll say this, a lot of the stuff, the A13, the Genius, is too zippy for me nowadays. I've calmed down a lot, and I don't need to get kicked out of the damn bed. But I'm going to turn it back over to Duke in a second. But this is one of my favorite stories. So Jill had a friend come out one night, and I had grown that A13 cut, and we just rolled up a joint, orange zigzags. This is no magic here. There's no terp sauce. There's no keef. It's a joint, a normal joint. And we lit it up and smoked it, and pretty soon turned around and that girl disappeared, and I went to looking for her, and she was sitting on the front porch about to puke on 2 hits. And so that's how potent this stuff actually can be. So when you met Soul, how long had you actually been breeding, Tommy, and working around with stuff like that?
Well, I kind of got lucky and got turned on kind of at an early age because, like you were saying, you were, spending a lot of money on some Dutch stuff, way back in the day, and it was a pretty penny, Plus, if you weren't going over there and getting it yourself, you had to deal with the money order things. You had to wait 4 weeks worth to get there, and then it'd take them a week to get your order out, another 4 weeks back. Plus, like, you're worried, like, if it's going to make it, is it not going to make it? Is the DEA going to show up? It was a big pain in the ass. So when my cousins were getting their early stock, they were older. Like, my dad, he's passed away now, but I think he's like 80, he'd be like 88 or 89 years old this year. So my cousins and stuff, they had the jump on me. They were growing in the early 80s and everything. And, so when they would get seed, they they're farmers, they made their own, so like if they bought, say, skunk number 1, well, they were only going to buy those packs of skunk number 1 once, and they were going to make another generation of those that same year, and then they're going to grow those out each additional year till, every about 5 years, maybe 6 years, they would, want to make some more, because they depleted. Everything was from seed. So the year that I started growing with them, that year happened to be one of those years where they were making seed. And I actually got to see a male plant and how it dusted up and the way it would choke you up and make you sneeze and everything else. And I got to see that process, plus them, emphasizing the importance of all this because of the ordering and all the bullshit involved with it. So I kind of realized the importance of that. Plus, they were making hybrids, which to me was like a really cool concept. Like, oh wow, you're gonna mix that with that, and you're looking for that. That's really cool, So so 94. So I didn't get actually into like really heavy into like breeding stuff till probably about 98, and a lot of that stemmed from BCGA and later overgrow and everything. And I didn't sell the seed. I would just make it and grow it for me, keep a clone maybe, and give shit to friends mostly. And then some of my friends were doing some pretty big outdoor stuff, and they were talking about how good they did outside. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And they were like, yeah, can we get some from you? And I was like, yeah, sure, here's 20 more. And they were like, nah, dude, we need to get some from you. We need a lot, like 1,000. I was like, I don't think I got that many. So that got me thinking. So each year, I try to hook up my friends. It might be 1,000 to these guys and 1,000 up to Maine or something. And it wasn't really like a business type thing. More if it was just kind of cool to do. But the more I got to doing it, I had a need for knowledge. Like anything I've done in life, I needed to know as much about it as I could. I wasn't satisfied with that did good. Like, I don't like to leave shit to happenstance. I wanted to do good because I did what I was supposed to do. And I knew that it did that because I did this. And I know it did it when it did it and why it did it because of what I did and why I'm doing it. And every in and out of everything. So it got heated, a lot of books and just sitting there. Everybody else is going out, going to the club on the weekend and getting rowdy and shit. I was staying at home and being the lonely dope grower and, staying under the radar and looking at my books and reading and, getting into it like that. So that's kind of what led me to here. And people liked it. I just knew like it. I loved it. I like it. And if everybody else does too, then that's really cool, man.
Dude, I gotta say, you're such a humble, sweet guy. How in the fuck do you and Soul exist in the same universe at that booth? How do you not burst into fucking flames?
Yeah.
And I love Soul too. Duke knows exactly what I mean. They are polar. So Soul is Mr. Hollywood. Like that's it. When you walk up to Soul is Mr. Hollywood. Like he's got a tan.
Nah, he's Manhattan, bro. Well, you got to do, yeah, man.
He's Manhattan.
Yeah, dude. He's definitely very clean cut, very well dressed individual. You know, like you see me that clean, that means I'm going to fucking court, dude. Like that's about how it goes. You know, like this is about it right here. You know, I put my nice hat on for your show, my cleanest dirty hat for your show.
Cleanest dirty hat. So we talk a lot on this show about Super Soul. Like we talk about it ad nauseum. And currently indoors, Jill is still running the Super Soul that I taught her run. And she's using Roots as a base because Jilly doesn't like to change. I'm running Soul King outside, and I'm just giving you a little background. The reason I'm using Soul King outdoors and not Soul King inside is because we have yet to determine how hot Pat's soil is. We know it's hot. We know it's easy. We're afraid if we make Super Soil with it, it's going to be super. So we're just working on it. But I divert. So you still use Super Soil today. And I threw this up a little earlier, guys. You guys got to see this. So this is the original website where me and Duke and all the boys used to hang out. This is the BCGA. When you click on here, this is the original Super Soil mix. And I have been accused in my past once or twice of not giving credit where credit's due, and we all know that's full of shit. But this is Vic's original recipe of Super Soil. And it's basically a bale of sunshine mix, some bone meal, some blood meal, some Epsom, some dolomite, some fitted trace elements, which I had to go look up back then, and some chicken manure, which we found will be a little bit hot. And then you can see, I don't know if you can see, you guys can look this up. I can get the link for you. It's not an easy site to find. You see, he started playing around with it. He switched from worm shit to worm castings, and then there's notes, and then everybody comes and we just talk ad nauseum about this shit, Webfish and everybody. And out of that, I came up with my own recipe for a Super Soil, and I know that you use a recipe. So talk about what you use and the differences, if you don't mind.
So my line of thought is that, so like I don't do just the plain water, you know. Now I'm not like fertilizing heavy or anything either, but I do believe that there are certain crucial moments where if you do supplement certain things, you're taking advantage of it, you know, like pushing the crop. Not that they won't grow great with just water in the soil, but I think like you can enhance it, you know. So it's like, you know, I seen Jill, man, she made Jill a couple of healthy looking sandwiches right there, and I know she feeds you real good, right? So you know, so I look at that, you know, that's like your base mix, that's your soil right there, you know, you're eating good. Now, you know, if we're gonna, you know, start training you up, man, we got you on the treadmill, man. You got the stair climber. We got you running 5 miles a day. We got you benching 350 pounds, man. If I want you to be like tip top Olympic athlete, I'm gonna supplement you a little something. You know, we're gonna give you protein shakes. You know, maybe a little. Well, they fucking take that creatine shit. You know, all that stuff, right? So, and also, like, when are you gonna drink that? You just gonna drink it any old time right before bed? No, you're doing it like right in the workout, you know? So I guess that's kind of my line of thought with that. Now my base, I kind of want to try to keep everything even across the board. And I like to use kind of, it's like you're accomplishing the same route and the same goal, but using some different roads to get there. So like, so I'll add like oyster shell, you know, I like that. That's good calcium, you know. So it acts as a little bit of a pH buffer as well, so that's cool. I also like to add the lime to it too. I also like to add rock dust in there. Now that's got more than calcium, but there's some calcium in there. I still use bone meal, and like, you know, guys like that's the other thing about the internet now, man. Like everybody just like eats you apart. Like these guys are so mean, man. Like, I mean, fuck, man. They're like, hey, fuck you, man. Use fucking bone meal, you asshole. I'm like, Jesus, God, man. It's like,
right.
You know? Like they're mean.
Are you talking about the vegans attacking your ass? Are you talking about the vegan growers, dude?
No, man. Some of the no-till guys, man, like they're brutal these days, man. I just try to, it's like don't make me cry, man. Take it easy. So anyway, that horrible bone meal that I'm adding in there, that's got some calcium too. So anyway, so I'm deriving like calcium, say, from all these different sources. Now they're all breaking down at a different rate and all that, and that's all well and good too. So I try to keep that whole thing going, and it's got a lot of the same shit that you're putting in. Just I use like a little bit different ratios on some stuff. Like I go a whole lot less on my blood because I kind of thought, you know, it's good to have in there, but also the other thing, like I don't toss my dirt or my soil. I continually reuse it. You know, I don't plant like cover crop or anything, but I never take it back out of the pot. You know, so that being said, my little regiment and veg, you know, I'm real big on my dragonfly earth medicine. They have this stuff, it's called Radiant Green. Now it's animal free. It's just plant feeding plant type deal. Microbes are already in the mix. You know, it's really, really nice stuff. I use that in veg. They have a product called Fat Flowers. That's my bloom. Same type deal. The Radiant Green, I think, is 633. The Fat Flowers is 366. And then they have a product called Brilliant Black. It has fulvic in it, has humic in it, and some other goodies. So like we're just using that as like, you know, supplementing the teas. I also am using like aloe water for salicylic acid, stress reduction, also allowing them to respond to not the happenstantial stress, but maybe like a stress that we induce to trigger a certain response, like more resin. So we're cranking our lights up a little bit higher. I think that in order for them to react, they're not adding more resin for shits and grins. They're doing it as a response to something. That higher light might not be like stress per se, but they need to react to it. And I believe that the salicylic acid during these phases where you're inducing some type of stress to trigger a response, that you should facilitate the response with something that's going to help it do what it did. So I think the salicylic acid helps with that. And then, you know, like I said, the tea, I like to add microbes pretty much weekly. They have lush roots is what I use. And sometimes like I use insect grass, right? It's really nice stuff. 222. It's pretty mild. It's even across the board. But chitinous, you know, that's like what's truly in there. You know, that's what I'm trying to use and take advantage of. That also helps facilitate that stress response, makes them a little more pest resistant, etc. I'm trying to supplement enzymes, either coconut water. The corn works pretty good. I really like the malted barley a lot. That's rich in cytokines. That's going to help cell division and, you know, for it to build more biomass and everything. The amino acids, you know, I don't use them like all the time, but I try to at least give them a good treating of it. The soy-based amino acids, some boys turned me on to, like that one was like really complete. So I kind of think of it at the beginning of bloom as like I've treated my soil with it and it's kind of there. I've played around with using it, you know, more so, but I noticed like plants kind of during the stretching phase, they got a little too notey, it seemed like, but so I went back just to using it for once. Later part, mid bloom, you know, you're the one that turned me on to the Krebs cycle. So I'm trying to facilitate the Krebs cycle to the best of my ability, you know, a little bit of magnesium. And plus, like later in flower, they want more phosphorus anyway. And magnesium is what's going to facilitate phosphorus uptake along with the humic acid. So that goes in there, a little bit of the citric acid, a little bit of sugars and all. And
Duke, are you using this Mammoth? Just you said phosphorus. I had to ask. Are you using this Mammoth product?
A guy gave me some, like over a year ago, and I used it. It seemed like it worked pretty good, but I think it's got like an enzyme with it. It seemed like it at least. So I've used it as like a microbial, and normally at the point where I've already stopped using the enzymes and all, it was still in there. So I got a little more foxtail than normal, you know. So yeah, so it worked good. I'd say like maybe like cut it out a little bit earlier than what might be recommended, but it might not do that to every strain either. It was like a ring of chem dog. So
speaking of chem dog, one of our viewers has a great question for you, and I'm going to give my 2 cents. So, and go back just a little bit. So Kim came to my house back in the day, and he actually brought all his goddamn, like and not only did he bring all his cuts, he had Genius and fucking Jack.
Yeah,
he don't fuck around.
Nah, I don't play games, dude. I heard out of middle school because they offered recess, man. That's how much.
Right. So what's your favorite? I would say that mine was probably the D. But what's your favorite? The Kim Dog, the 91, the Kim D, the Sister. What's your favorite out of that little batch?
My number one would be that original Kim Dog, that 91. Right up there with it, Sister. Then the D.
Okay.
After that, yeah. I'm real keen on that Sister. That's real good shit.
Me too. The Sister for personal smoke. I was the one of all the stuff he brought. You know, he had about 3 grams of each one, and that and the Genius Bud were fucking gone the next morning. That's to me. I can take notes. I can write. I can pontificate on a show. But the bag that's empty is generally the one that I like the most. That's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
These guys been talking Duke a lot, and that a viewer asked this question. I'm glad he did because I wouldn't thought of it. Now, Grandmaster Level is a guy that comes on this show. I watch his show. He's a huge commercial grower up in Canada. He's advanced nutrients. Guys, his game is on point. I mean, the resin this guy produces is amazing. But him and a lot of people that do these big giant rooms, not that I do them, are doing heavy defoliating. So how much defoliating do you do? When do you do it? And can you kind of tell me your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I kind of look at all the different cultivars that we have, like different people, right? So like your buddy back there in the chair, man, he might not like cold weather. You know, or you might like hot weather, and you might, so everybody's kind of different. So things that I take into effect are how much are they going to stretch? When they do stretch, how do they fill in? Do they continue to stretch like this fiber and the stem, or am I getting a tight stacking? That's part of it. I play around with stuff like back in the day, it was a lot easier because growing houses or outdoors and shit. But you could grow like you plant 5 different ways. You got this clone, like you give me a Jack's cleaner. Well, one of them I'm just gonna leave it all natural. Another one I'm gonna super crop it a few times. A couple of them I'm gonna top and grow it into like 4 heads like you do. And I'm gonna play around with it. And then I play around with the defoliation and like. Fuck, it wasn't until like this past year, like I found out like JC, like, people used to say like, oh, it's just a hermy ass fucking plant. It's not that. It's just we were failing as growers to make it happy. That's all it came down to. And I found out that plant just likes humidity. Like when it was warmer and a little more humid, no problems. Like I finished a 70-day run with not the first banana on it. I was like, huh. Mm-hmm. I'll be damned. But something else in the room was not happy, So, and I used to grow a lot of rooms that, not monocropping. I might have 10 strains of 40 different things in a room, all growing in the same environment. And you really get to see, hey, this one doesn't like it as humid. This one likes it drier. This one doesn't like light. I got this old Gnat cut. That thing fucking hates the light. You put it under a DE, you got to have it cranked back to 600, and that's pushing it. Otherwise, man, it's not a happy plant. Other ones, they want it, up to 1,000 or more. So, so as far as defoliation, if I was growing, say like Chem Dog, right, that original Chem Dog, I'm gonna leave it like as an untopped plant. I'm gonna pinch it a couple times to get the some of the lower branches to kind of create like that stadium effect, you know, around it. Give it like 6 inches or so on that main stem to be, you know, higher than the rest. And any fan leaves that point inward toward the main, I take those off and I leave everything going out. And like I found, that's what yields the best for me. That's what works the best. Then take like headband, right? Like the thing grows like an OG, you know, it's nodier. It stretches a lot more during flower. So with that girl, I actually like to veg them a little longer, and I keep cutting them back and cutting them back, and I try to maintain the same shape. And then when I induce flowering, I try to strip it off very, very well down low, like even beyond a third of the lower part. And I also let it rip. And about 3 weeks in, when the stretching's starting to cool down, that's when I'll go in and start yanking off like inward facing fan leaves normally are the ones that get me. The outward ones I normally tend to leave. And anything that's like obviously really shading out, because sometimes you can be up around your main cola and toward the bottom of it, you got one fan leaf. I mean, you can snag that and really open up a whole light with just a couple. And I guess, you know, maybe some strains do like to be stripped all to hell, because I know I kind of do that to a headband, but not to the degree of what I've seen online. And then some of them I don't really hardly do much at all, you know, but I've tried like this and that, and I just kind of go with what works for each individual, I guess.
Growing with Tommy is so, listening to Tommy talk is so interesting, because a lot of it he developed from me and him talking, learning through the years, and a lot of it intuitive. Me and him do so many things right. And I got to say something that Sid said offline. Sometimes when I'm watching the show, I'm very, I don't know how to say it. I'm very critical of myself, the show, everything. I just think my show sucks when I'm on it. I think everybody else's shows rocks. But so I kicked off real quick and I said, Sid, right? He's like, I'm writing it all down. This guy's fucking genius. So yeah, hopefully you guys are paying attention right now. So this wouldn't be the show it is. And we'll go on break after we tackle this question. And I hope everybody hang around after the break. We've got a special song lined up for Duke. But so everybody knows my take. I don't make fem seeds. Back in the day, I had really bad results from it. I always believed I could make a better standardized copy. I will be the first person to tell you that I jumped off that ship quickly, and I have made my living, especially over in Spain, with a fucking wall that's my seeds and a wall that's everybody else's seeds. But recently, you and Brother Grimm got into it, and I know you did not get into it lightly. So I want you to talk about, if you don't mind, why you guys got into it, which is obviously because people can't sex a seed. Me and Tommy were laughing about it before the fucking show. He's like, well, you just wait a couple weeks and it tells you what it is. But there's a huge demand for feminized seeds, and Brother Grimm is trying to meet that demand. So if you don't mind, and you guys in the chat, anybody that fucks with my friend Tommy, I'm going to break my foot off in his ass, okay? So let her rip, buddy. Tell us about fem seeds.
All right, sounds good. So back in the day, like we're talking like, what, 98 through 2004, before things got real crazy and hectic for us, right? So we all used to share information with each other. Like, basically the look at everything was like, we're all fucking, you know, considered criminals, whether we are or we aren't, whatever. That's for other greater philosophical minds than mine. But we were looking at like a common goal: dank ass weed, do it the safest you can, and get away with it, and kind of spread knowledge to others. Because like when you signed up for overgrow.com, there was like a little pledge to overgrow the fucking world. Like that was the goal. So, you know, there was a lot of open knowledge, and back in those days, there's a lot of really fucking smart people, you know, like, you know, Vic Howe was insane, man. Like, that guy was really into it. And there were a lot of guys on his site as well. There was this guy, the Silicon Magician. And he was the first dude who really broke down feminized seed, why it's feminized, why does this do how it does. And ideally, his end goal was creating what he called the XX female that could basically be a clone from seed every single time. So this, struck my fancy, man. I was like, that's pretty cool, because if you could do that, then you really could back up something that you thought was very, very exceptional. And that's pretty cool. Like, you don't have to worry about males, so win-win. So, you read this guy's thing, like if it was on a forum today, like the IC Mag or something like that, how much is formatted on the screen. You'd probably be about 8 pages deep just on this guy's single thought that he puts out on why, when, how it's done, etc. So in those days, the main way these guys were doing it was colloidal silver. Right? So when you get to playing around with it, you do it successfully. I noticed that certain strains responded better to it, whereas other ones, like the progeny, that not only a hermied out mess, but sometimes even if they weren't, like they varied so much. Like, you got a short one, you got this tall, lanky one. I mean, like more so than like a F1 cross using a male. Like this was almost like to an F2 on steroids degree. Like, I mean, nothing resembling anything. So that turned me off a little bit. And then there were more talks on it, like, oh, well, it's you're carrying that Hermy fucking gene, like that's gonna pass on. So over the years, you talk to a lot of people, and you get to thinking about it. So they all got that Hermy gene in them, man. But every single one, it's just what does it take to express that, like I was talking about Jack's Cleaner, right? Wasn't that it was just a Hermy plant. That's such a lazy way to put it. It's that we failed to meet that plant's requirement, and it got the fear, and it said, hey, I'm gonna reproduce, you bastard. You're trying to kill me here. 30%, 40% relative humidity, you're trying to kill me. So it's gonna do what it needs to do to survive, that's part of the plant's evolution. So I believe that every single plant, every female has it in it to do this. It's just, what does it take to induce that fear in that plant to say, hey, I'm triggering ethylene production here. I want to start making pollen on myself out of my self-preservation. What does it take to get to that point? And also, that's out of the evolutionary, way of saying it. And then you have, well, I'm just a really shitty grower. I like to grow in 110 degrees, 15% relative humidity. I like to water my shit, just whatever, chicken shit today, advanced nutrients tomorrow, what the fuck's pH, and, I like to smack the plants around, and, yeah, the room, it's 12-12, but, 4 hours a day, there's light, So it's going to happen, that plant's going to get stressed out, ethylene production's triggered, and, hey, you're going to get nanas, it's just going to happen. So certain things tend to resist this more. When we're doing like testing and everything, I try to induce light leaks on things. I actually try to stress the plants out to see who's the least resistant to that, or maybe not totally resistant, but at least to like the amount of bullshit that I'm giving it. At least I know a slight light leak isn't going to freak it out. It can make the whole run without producing a nanner, because if I'm running, say, 88 to 90 degrees, no CO2, 30, 40% relative humidity, and a light leak that's 4 to 6 hours a day, if it's resistant, like I feel like I've done a pretty good job. Okay, so
You think? You're mean, dude. You're just fucking mean to the plants.
yeah, it's just making sure, because like the way I see it, man, I had a hard ass upbringing, a hard ass life, man. Had I not been like faced with certain things, I wouldn't be as strong, So the way I see it is like, I'm calling out the weak, man. I just want the badass, man. That's what I want. So back to feminized. So making feminized, just like if you use a male, it doesn't always work. Like you can take a male, like a proper male, an X and a Y chromosome, hit a female 2 X chromosomes, and you're thinking, okay, So strawberry diesel, man, like it was gnarly as hell. And all right, I'm gonna take Cinderella 99. Fuck, it's cubed even, you know, so it's pretty interbred. I put these together, I should have some pretty gnarly frosty stuff. Wrong. I end up with very good structured. Everything goes great except they smell like they smell kind of like Kim D a little bit, and then there's not very much resin production. Enough to where, like, you know, you'd be like, yeah, it's real good, but you know, nothing to where I'm gonna say, hey man, I want you to grow these seeds because I think it's gonna blow your mind, because I know it's not, because it didn't blow my mind. So fuck that, it don't make it. Now that's with a male, like a proper male. So now I can even go to the opposite spectrum and say, I'm gonna take my Cinderella 99 female clone that I have, and I'm gonna reverse it. Now, I'm gonna hit the same clone with it, but this time we got no Y chromosome. Now I believe that the Y chromosome and the gene pairs associated with the Y chromosome, when it hit those two X's, that something fucked up, man. It just did not like it. It didn't sync up, and like what I believe synced up were like these really recessive traits going back to like a skunk lineage of sorts, you know, like something old school. And anyways, so now taking the XX route, I make this cross and bam, now you got the desired outcome. So in that case, it worked out great because you were able to accomplish the cross. The offspring also, when tested, doesn't herm out and freak out. So I can say, hey, that's a success. Now, why is it a success? The Y chromosome thing there, syncing up with some other shit, made all those recessives become homozygous, man, like dominant homozygous, because they won't like 1 in 5. Like every goddamn plant was, I mean, they weren't shit, but on the grand scheme of things, it was shit, and I didn't like it. So now on the other way, they're all stars. So the other thing, going back in the day, guys were using, you know, those colloidal silver. Now, to my understanding, the colloidal silver, we were getting nanners and like we're getting pollen, not out of an actual reversal, where we were getting these from stress. Then there was that guy Soma, you know, he wrote a book. One of the last chapters, Make Your Own Feminized Seed. And he had another theory, oh yeah, no chemicals, you know. We're just gonna let this fucker go beyond right, and we're gonna let it, like we were talking about, you know, it's at some point every plant's gonna say, I'm gonna survive, you motherfucker, so here's some pollen. So he's going off of that 8-week plant, he's letting it go 11 weeks, you know, he's collecting his pollen. So then he's using these, you know, pollen to do the same thing. So people that are growing seeds produced from either way, sometimes you ended up with really hermied out messes, you know. Like I had friends that were buying them, and that's just fucking how it was, you know. I'm not talking shit or whatever, it's just how it was. So later on, you know, get to talking to guys, and they're on to the silver thiosulfate. And being an inquisitive guy, like, you know, what's this all about? Well, the silver thiosulfate, you are actually on a molecular level reversing this female plant to become a male. Like it's not a stress reaction, you know, it's actually turning male. Not fully because of the lack of the Y chromosome, but aesthetically. And no female flowers, it was pollen clusters, you know. So going this route, you're not inducing stress. So now there's a lot of people out there a lot smarter than me, and there might be somebody even watching right now that could answer it better. But I believe that if you're inducing stress to get the pollen, that maybe that had something to do with the progeny, these seeds that are going to be grown from this, to also be a little bit, I would equate it to a human being just naturally jumpy, you know, like they're a little bit touchy. Whereas the other route, it was actually genetically changing things, and then it's making it to be less jumpy, you know, like to be more of a actual stable thing being done here. So anyways, talked to a lot of other guys, and other guys have been making, fem seeds for quite a while. And not only have they been making them, but they've been making them successfully. And a big group of people also saying not only are they successful at it, but they grow really good plants, they're pretty consistent, and they don't freak out and harm. So now, hey, I'm all ears. So I said, all right, let's mix up a batch. Let's try some things out. So I'm not just going to make this one thing, I'm going to take this, reverse female, and I want to learn all about it. And like, how is this he-she going to affect progeny, like across the board? I might bring it back to itself. I might take it to one of her sisters, her grandmothers, one of her cousins, complete different gene pools, and grow these out and see what happens. Now, just like with my fucked up male, that makes this strawberry diesel cross that ain't worth a fuck. You take the feminine route, and now you got an all-star. Well, it also happens the same way. You take two X's to two X's, and sometimes it just doesn't work out just the same way as it would with the male. But the one thing that I could say kind of rang true was that these offspring didn't herm out and go crazy. They withstood light leaks and stuff, a lot better than, the old technique back in the day. Now, like I said, there's somebody out there a lot smarter than I am that could tell you exactly why. But my theory always is you're inducing stress to get pollen versus actually reversing it, genetically. So yeah, that's basically the route we go, and try to do it the best route, and then testing the project.
Technically, can you reverse Apollo 13? Have you done it?
I didn't reverse the 813, but I've seen Cinderella 99 reversed, and Princess, Kim Dog, and a few others. Yeah, and like it's wicked, man. Like the Cindy's like really hard to get to reverse. A lot of other things, like you can induce flowering. We're spraying it well beforehand, veg, putting it in the flower, and sometimes you never see a pistil. You just see it stack up like a really nice male would. And then on her, man, she still wants to throw out a few pistils here and there. Like she's really resisting that shit, man. So yeah, some of them it seem like a little more than others to get it to go. What I want is man.
I got the one more question I got is just I've been dying to ask you this. This ain't on no sheet. I've been dying to ask you this ever since we talked about shit. So when I do a room, I fluff a male and I blast 50 million pollen grains, and I make 20,000 seeds. What you're able to induce pollen on that level on a male? I mean, I've only seen clusters. So I mean, are you making a room full of pollen, or are you working your ass off?
Working your fucking ass. Like to do it.
Yeah.
It is so. Oh man, I'm sure there's some guys they got some shit down pat, but if they can tell me like, oh yeah, it's just as easy as a male, man, they're full of shit. Because with a male, I can veg him up pretty big, go in there and just tap him with a bamboo stake, and just dust out this whole room one shot, and you did the trick. The trick is that I'm noticing is, I guess when we're doing these reversals, really taking some fine notes, because a lot of what I consider important in commercial seed production, it's really all about timing. Because at the end of the day, if you're cleaning out a plant, let's say there's 10,000 seeds in that sucker. Well, out of that 10,000, how many of them are duds? And then out of the ones that weren't duds, how many of them are uniform in size? How many more do you have to pull out because it's got like a little weird tip on it or whatever? Or it wasn't quite as dark as the rest. And then you whittle on down, and I just attribute that to us fucking up the timing. So we play a lot with timing of certain males to certain females, and the male's time may differ substantially than the female's prime time. So knowing that like I might need to induce flowering on these females 2 weeks ahead of the male, Or it may be like, well, they can both go in at the exact same time. Or it may even be that the male needs to go in 3 weeks ahead of the females. It depends on the male, depends on the female. Now with the reversal, it's the same exact thing, but the amount of pollen is nowhere near the amount like on a proper male, nor is it as easy to get it to release and spread. And that's the trick. So I've come up with a few different ways of skinning that cat, and I think I got that motherfucking winter chicken dinner this time, buddy.
I love you. All right, we're gonna go on a break here real quick. Please hang around, Tommy. We're not nearly done yet. We got more to talk even on this. I want to officially welcome Mr. Soul to the channel. He's been on the channel for a while, hanging out, talking with the other guys. It's hard for me to watch the chat and be a proper host. Me and Soul have known each other for a very long time, and this is what I was going to say. And I can't say it any other way than honestly. There's one pack of feminized seeds on this property. Now, I have not germinated them. I'm not going that far yet, okay? But there is one pack of seeds on this property, and it's you guys. So that says something. We're going to go on break. We'll be right back. More questions, Duke Diamond, discussions. Take us out, Minnesota Nice.
All right, weed nerds. We got some Mindo dope. Vortex.
Vortex numbs the pain while making you laugh and giggle, all while enjoying a light show in the mind's eye. It has a great eye buzz, and the second hit slams you in the skull and says, hey, you're stoned. What a soaring mind buzz the combination of these two elite collector strains create. Mother Earth has been germinated with TGA seeds. Mando dope. Check it out. Ha. Vortex. Can you feel it up in your brain? Vortex. Cannabis cups sativa strain. Vortex. Sticky chronic that fire flame. Vortex. Catch us up in the mountains farming. Vortex growing in my garden. Seed starting, clone cutting, grower, oldie, I'm a weed country doper. Cannabis cup strain, heart racing when I started a puff flame. Vortex, potent, sativa, energized with the smoke I breathe. The most stable hybrid, you looking for a type to grow? Come try this. TGA got the best medication, phenotypes, all kinds of variations. We do it all for the patient. Cannabis culture lacing, headstats crossed with a new favorite. Roll it up, light I'm a connoisseur. Took one puff and I wanted more. High score, space where I'm heading. It tastes like mango snapper with lemon. Exhale and it blew my mind. Top shelf weed, call it one of a kind. Genius cross P75, cross Romulan, cross Cindy 99. High grade boss, get you stoned with this hybrid cross. Crystal shine with this tricone gloss.
We had to pick a
65
song
days
out
in and
there.
it looks like frost, like it's snowing. When I broke the weed down and started rolling, blowing, and I feel the effects. What you got, what you want, what you smoking? Can you feel it up in your brain? Cannabis cups sativa strain. Sticky chronic, that fire flame. There's an art to the cannabis smoking and a science to the dank we grow. Vortex got your mind in motion, stirring up another ganja potion. Weed in the jar, puffing on a premium grade Lagar. Cindy-like plant with a twist bizarre. Big wide bush in the back of the yard. Vortex, incredible. Take the trimmings and I make edibles. Kicking back in the ganja field, maturing quick with the medium yield. A+, good greenery. 18% THC, CBD, CBNs, we got it. Only takes one hit and you want it. Vortex. Can you feel it up in your brain? Vortex. Cannabis cups sativa strain. Sticky chronic, that fire flame.
I'm reading the private comments. You ain't got no coon dick, Tommy? What the fuck, bro? I can send you one. I got one over here at my mantle. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Back from break. Hope everybody got some bowls, bongs, pee break, all that good stuff. I was reading the comments. Might want to know if Tom had a coon dick. My dad had a damn gold-plated coon dick, believe it or not, on his damn derby. That's a tradition down there. Down in the South, where me and Tommy grew up, stomping grounds and stuff like that. So I got a little bit of business to go over real quick, and then we're going to get back into it with Duke. And again, shout out to Soul in the channel. He looks like he's having a good time. I think he actually picked up all the Vortex progenies in that song there. So let's see. What is the future strain you're going to work with on DJ Short's son? And his name is JD Short. Tommy, you're going to love this fucking story, dude. So I'm online. My fidget spinner, by the way, in between banking and doing what I do and working and everything, I'm hyper, so I can't sit still. So like if I gotta wait on like a fucking bank teller for 2 seconds, I do something. And what I do is I fucking Instagram. So I saw this kid and he was putting up this awesome weed and this awesome blueberry, and blueberry has always been somewhat of a, I ran it 3 or 4 times. I got a bunch of fucking herms, just straight up. I mean, I got pictures of them on my phone where I bought a pack, 10-pack, and I grew it. And and I don't mean just late term stuff. I mean, 3 weeks into flower, bananas sticking out on the second branch from the dirt pile. Those are brutal. Those are not mistakes. I mean, that's an error. So, but I know people get the blueberry, and I got tired of looking for it. So it's always been my unicorn. So I saw this kid online, breeding, growing, doing all this cool stuff. And I'd start talking to him, kind of like the coma situation. And come to find out he's fucking DJ Short's son. So his name is JD Short. And he's a super nice guy. I said, me and your dad are friends and enemies, right? He goes, yeah, I know. And I don't give a shit. He goes, I don't really talk to my dad. So I guess he's got some F7 something that he wants to work with me. But it's so like, I'm Subcool, okay? And he's this guy I never heard of. But he's like, yep, well, maybe we can work together in 7 months. I have 3 things on the table. So we'll see what develops with that. I think it's just fucking cool as shit that I contact some guy on Instagram and he's like, I'm DJ Short's son. I'm like, that's fucking awesome, dude. This social media shit is so wicked. Charity garden updates. Everything is going fantastic. Sid put on the soy amino powder. And then we did teas. We did a nice tea of the extreme charge packs. We did 2 of those. Then we did a good bit of Terravesco, which is concentrated liquid worm stuff. We also, because we have a giant plant, I'm back up a little bit. We have a plant in the garden that when I look at with methamphetamines, it's telling me it's yeller. Now it might be the genetics. It's definitely probably the genetics, but I'm looking at 9 plants and one of them's a little, I don't like the way it looks. And that's what does method 7. So we decided to feed him, even though he's in a 400-gallon pot and he's just entering flower. I think it's just the color. So what we did was we fed a half strength of the Blue Planet Organics line, Grow. So what we did was after we brewed the tea, we actually added silica, because you heard us guys talking about silica yesterday. So we added silica, half a cup to 55 gallons. The way we applied it, we put it in warm water, we mixed it up, and then we put it in the thing. And then just before applying the tea, we added the Blue Planet Organic Grow. So that's what's going on in the charity garden. They look fantastic. Sid and Badger have been tying them down, which is the method of pulling the plants open so that the center of the plants grow out. We were going to de-leafing and some defoliation this weekend. Bleezy and Old E were here just before they went to Hawaii, and they said, Sub, there's not a single leaf or a single branch in your garden that's not in the sun. So don't start ripping leaves off your plant until you got some shade going on. So I'm talked to Duke about it earlier, the defoliation. I'm talking to people continuing about it. But at this point, what do we take a couple of big fans off? Something like that? No big deal. We're not really messing with the plants because they're, he's got them up right now, Minnesota Nice. They're freaking huge. They're 8 foot tall, and it's just July. I mean, good Lord, they're going to be huge. Frank jumping out the pots. I believe Frank is in the pot. I don't believe Frank jumped out of the pot. But I believe they're all huddled down in the corner of the pot. So Sid planted a cover crop the other day, and we're going to try to water it more. I think I screwed up. I put those 2 400-gallon pots with the lasagna in them. They're in my backyard in the sun. I mean, it's a fucking 160 degrees back there. I'm exaggerating just a teeny bit, but not a lot. That's probably going to fucking fry the poor bastards. We're going to have to move, and this is happening. We're going to build a compost bin over in the shade. We'll talk about this on another show. You guys are going to have to tell me how worms are going to live up here when it's fucking 105 degrees in the shade. Another fuck, man. I think they're coming, but I don't know. Has the CBD tincture been helping out? I think it has. That's made a huge mess. I think it has. It's hard for me to tell. My biggest problem is fucking tolerance, and I'm going to sound like I'm whining a little bit. It is. You guys saw me eat 3,000 milligrams of damn cannabis meds online. Everything helps a little bit, but whatever. This is it, and I'll spend like 2 seconds on whatever the hell's going on. So, for whatever reason, in the morning when I get up with my alpha, I feel pretty good. And then the day goes on, I get to where I can't breathe very good, and something inside like trembles and shakes. And then by the end of the day, it's going pretty good. So like, and I've been these, I told you I went to crazy college to learn how to be cool. So I'm cool. So like, I can be standing next to you and feel like I'm about to jump off a motherfucking cliff. It's just part of it, and I won't take their damn drugs. I'm off of the shit, Seroquel. I'm off of that shit 2 weeks early. I'm just not going to take the drug. So when I have a panic attack because I can't breathe because of this disease, I just hang on. I don't know any other way to describe it. I go, I'm not going to die. It's going to be okay. It sounds silly, but that's just how I'm fighting the shit, you know. And sometimes when I walk from the bottom of the garden to my grow room and my heart's pounding and that damn 30% of my lungs are pounding, it's hard to remember that. But so far, so good. I think CBD does help a lot, but all of it's just a little bit of a thing. Let's see. Reclaim capsules. How did they work? Oh, fuck you. Reclaim capsules are one of the coolest things I ever smoked. So, Duke, if you don't know this, and guys on the channel, I smoke out of this. I got a dab rig. Sid got me an Dnail. Like you have to pull on the thing too hard. You know, okay, you know the guys with you healthy lungs, when you get to the part where you suck on the Dnail, really cool. You know the part where you put the carb cap on? That's the part where I'm done, dude. I'm like choking to fucking death. I'm like, yeah. So I gave it to Sid for promotional, and we're going to make sure the guys get good promotion out of it. But the Dnail don't work. So this works. Teeny, in, out, done, good. But the hash, the majority of it melts down into this chamber. And it's good. I mean, hell, I got stuff that melts so fast, I'm not even burning it. So about every 3 days, I actually heat this pipe up and pour it into a glass vial, and it makes capsules. And is it decarbed? Well, yeah, it's fucking decarbed. I hit it with a lighter. So I don't know what to tell you guys. It works like a bitch. This is the problem. If you take one of those little capsules, you feel really good and you sleep really good. And then the next day, if you don't have one of those 1.5 grams reclaim fucking capsules, it sucks, man. I was like, why can't I go to sleep? I was like, oh, I fucking ate like 5,000 milligrams of fucking THC last night. And it's got to be, because you're hitting it with the lighter, it's got to be a lot of that CBN, you know? So, all right, I'm goofing around here. I want to make sure that you guys know about Urban Farmers, 4th of July. You guys check that out. He's going to be doing a show on the 4th. I believe it's at 1 o'clock. We'll get the link up for you guys. And last but not least, we're going to get back to Duke. Duke was talking earlier about JC. So our JC here is not happy. Now, we don't hermit because we run our humidity higher than like talking about. We're not in the VPD range, but we're probably in the 55% range. So we're getting good results out of her. But well, now I got to back up a little bit. When I run her, she's a little mad at me. I don't know why. Maybe she's mad I've had her inside for 30 years. I don't know. When Jill runs her, it's a little happier. I don't know if it's touch, if Jill's doing something really small that she's doing, but when I say happy, what the plant likes to do is when you clone it, it likes to go into a single leaf situation, maybe a 3-leaf situation. And I will not breed with it or grow it out like that. You got to get it healthy. So a couple of things can do it. Time and health and time. Sunshine. If I had a sealed up greenhouse with no bugs that ever get in and a little bit of shade on top, I know that would fix it. But Tommy told me about something called, I call it Duke Tonic, whatever the hell. Bring him back lab if you don't mind and tell us a little bit about this concoction and kind of what it does to the cell structure and everything.
So I guess where I would start is a lot of stuff that, like, we'll see, you know, it starts to grow weird, getting very variegated. You know, JC, when it's real pissed off, you know, it wants to just the whole thing. Like, it'll still grow, but it wouldn't like produce or be as happy and give you the same end product. You know, like you were saying, like if you bloom a single leaf clone, you know, it's not going to be as good as like if you had it to health and then bloomed it out. So, you know, looking into like leaf variegation and things like that, it's typically when the plant's having a hard time doing cell division, essentially. So if it's not able to efficiently make biomass and be happy like that, then it's needing something. The sunshine trick, the sun, you know, has more UV light than anything. That's going to help the most. And then, like, going back to where we were talking about triggering stress and facilitating the response, you know, to our desired amount. Well, you know, you're kind of taking that same approach, but you're not inducing any stress. You're just trying to help it get out of the stress that it's in right now. So a good feeding regimen always helps. Amino acids, they always, you know, they help reduce stress. They also will aid in, you know, cell division, and there's different amino acids for different things, you know. So they all have their own little goal. I try to really baby it to like, if you gave me a clone and it wasn't quite healthy, it might take a while to get it back to that original health, but you can get it pretty close in a matter of months. But most of mine, it would take like a year. If I go back, you know, like where I'm from, and somebody had something from back in like '98, and I get a clone and they're a shit grower and it's barely hanging on by a thread, you know, some of that stuff's taken over a year to get back to growing like the way like I remembered it being. So sunshine, high UV light. If you can't do the sunshine, the DE lights work really well because you don't have a piece of glass filtering out any UV. So that tends to help. The silicate, that also helps. Enzyme source, you know, anything that you can give them to help them stack biomass and process their food easy to form. So like things that are in a vegetative state, I like to give it a little more fulvic acid to help to supplement the nitrogen uptake. That helps a lot with the foliage. And also, in addition to that, calcium. You know, they like the calcium. They like a little bit of sugar, gets the Brix levels up, you know, like the blood pressure kind of. And if you're constantly doing that, I also like neem cake too. It's really rich in azidactins, and it gets the immune system kicking real good. Your kelp, of course, you know, that's your acyphilium, no sodium. That's helping with good root zone health and overall in the plant. You're giving it a little bit of potash there, and it's good. A little bit of alfalfa and veg too. It's tricantanol is the main thing in that that's allowing it to be responsive to that. So a lot of things, and just nurturing it back to that health. And then once you have it back at that health, and if at all possible, if you could take a clone, like Subcool says, you know, like if you had a greenhouse or hell, even your backyard or whatever, and you can let that clone be out in the summertime while it's still in a, you know, vegetative hours, and grow you a new mom out. I had a buddy from back in Virginia that I, you know, we work together here in Colorado. He's out in California now, but he was doing the sunshine tech, and it just made sense, you know, it just made utter sense. So he has all these clones like out in basically like a backyard and a front yard all over the place, and not growing them to bloom them out or anything, just literally to take clones from that and keep it happy until the next year, and he would do the same, you know. And those clones grew very vigorous plants, and they were very happy, and like the moms from those stay happy. And so once you're at that point of health, keep it healthy and just don't let it, you know, run back down. And then it goes back to individual plants, you know. Some plants like to eat more than others. Some of them like to eat heavy on the calcium and other little things like it, you know, things that people don't pay much attention to, like boron, sulfur, iron, zinc, and these types of things. They might like that and kind of heavy, but they might like a very light NPK, you know. They're all different. So you kind of got to almost, you know, custom to fit their regimen, you know, especially like JC. How old is that clone? Like 20?
So I got it 27. Yeah, 27 years ago we germinated her. So yeah. Fucking old.
Yeah, for a plant, you know, that's pretty old clone going around. So to keep that
the
big,
Apollo though too. Your Apollo that we carry, dude, it's 20 something. It came from the boys back in Georgia. Fuck, that was a life ago. So it's older than 20 years too. That's Apollo, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, keeping them healthy, and if anything does happen, you know, you kind of give them the good treatment. I mean, you're always giving them the good treatment, but you're really going in there and attacking it. And also, if you're in soil, you're keeping your moms. If you keep so like, you know, you hear about the teaming with microbes, and you know, it's like a series of books, but they really are like your team, man, because like there's more benefits to them just munching food, you know, or munching up pieces of shit and oyster shells and pooping out nutrients, you know. A lot of them are also, you know, they're anti-fungicides like bacillus species, you know. And there's certain bacillus species that kill off fungus gnat eggs, and like people that battle pythium, you know, the trichoderma, you know, species, you know, that fights off, you know, pathogens and things like that. So there's a lot going on in the root zone, the spot that you don't see, that's really going to dictate what you are seeing above. So good, healthy, you know, ecosystem there in the soil, the food web, you know. As far as like the hydro guys, you know, I got buddies that keep them in rock wool. I got other buddies that the deep water culture type buckets, and they always do pretty good on the health of it, so long as the environment's not all fucked up and hot. But they sometimes have to battle like warmer weather, you know, reservoirs go up a little bit, pythium comes into play, pathogens and stuff. And that's kind of what would affect their moms, you know. So I would say, you know, just make sure the environment's nice, you know, and like, you know, if you're feeding them good, should be no problems. If you got an option to use the sunshine, absolutely use it. And you know, if you do get into deep shit, start, you know, hooking them up and facilitating all those responses. The aloe water is really great too, you know.
I tried to pay attention when I was watching your room. I know you do have a mother room, but I mean, do you mother around or do you replicate like us? Do you keep duplicating eventually, or kind of what's your?
Yeah, I do. But we grow ours like pretty big. There's times where we have some that are over 10 feet tall, you know, and it's not for any real specific reason other than like we stay so busy doing other stuff that we can't be cloning an entire library every single month. Like, I mean, we could, but then that would take up the extra couple hours for sleep. So we just keep them real big, you know, 20-gallon soil pot, really rich soil. You know, they get a nice little regimen, they stay happy, and then you know, if you're taking good clones off of a really happy, healthy plant, you're gonna get another really happy, healthy plant via your rooted cutting, and then you know, continue to root it into a nice, you know, clone. And as long as it's good and happy and you keep it happy, you're good to go. I've never seen genetic drift, but I think what a lot of people misconceive as genetic drift is actually like what we were talking about. The clone wasn't that healthy when they got it. And it might take a grow or two of them getting it back to being happy. And not everything shows that it's really super pissed off, you know? Like, you might be growing a strain that everybody's been growing for 10 years, be like, oh yeah, 5 leaves, man. Yeah, that's it. That's that clone.
Yeah.
But what's really going on is like normally, like before that clone was ever known, it used to grow 7 leaves, you know? Now you got your clone, it's like it's still growing 7s, but say you got a little bit pissed off, you took an unhappy clone, well now you got a mom that's starting to throw 3s and 5s, you know? Maybe variegating a little bit. So you want to get it back to happy, but if you didn't know all that shit and you just got this clone from a dispensary and you hadn't been growing it 20 years, you wouldn't know. And then you might grow it and say, oh, well, that thing yielded like shit. That was horrible. But in reality,
You know, Duke, I think some of that comes from the drug war too, because a lot of the cuts that me and you work with, especially back in the day, man, they were in some dude's basement. I mean, it's just in the past 5 years that, like, you talk about moms in a 20-gallon pot. Fuck, back in the day, we had a 20-gallon pot. We were budding that son of a bitch. We couldn't veg. So a new era is taking place where you guys can actually start taking care of the genetics. And I've talked about this long before the WeedNerd. You know, the cannabis genome is held in human hands. It's not in a fucking bank. It's held by me and this dude on the other end of that fucking camera right there. And it's just now, like, me and Jill finally, for the first time in our life, we have a nice mother room with nice lights and air conditioning and even everything you would have in a normal bud room. Back in the day, dude, moms got put wherever the fuck we could put them. You agree?
Yeah, and like, you know, like I kept bonsai moms. There was another guy, I forgot his name, man, but he was on the Big High forum back in the day, and he was talking about keeping bonsai plants, you know, and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I had a friend that worked at a pretty big chain florist type shit back east, and he was really good with bonsai, so I took a few tips from him, and I was keeping, Soul even saw me do it when he first got here, because I didn't have space and had this huge library. And in a basement, 2-gallon pots, bonsaiing these things still, just top dressing and feeding teas, just trying to keep them happy and healthy. But it's a shit ton of work. But like you said, space requirement, the laws and everything back then, it just wasn't something you could necessarily really do. And that was just how it was. But yeah, now, I mean, you saw that main floor. I mean, it's like paradise in there for them. They got all the room they need. They get treated all good, and it makes a big difference in the like if you're doing like a bud run even. If I take 100 clones off of one of these moms, I'm gonna bud out this whole room. Well, I'm not gonna take 100. I'm gonna take 200, and I'm only gonna take the best 100 out of that 200, and the rest are going to go away, because even one that still looks pretty good, like it's acceptable, it just won't perform like those super, super, super healthy clones. So like the saying, good in, good out, it's really true. And I mean, it can be like a couple ounces different per plant, as opposed to, you know, only taking the very best of the best, and mediocrity's got to go, you know? So, and I can only imagine the shit that we grew back in the day, we weren't taking the most primo of clone, you know, or what have you, and you don't get that same good experience like the guy who might have given you the clone, you know, the rants and raves. And
it kills me, bro. You know this clone chipper company? Didn't we create that motherfucker?
Yeah, man. The two Dixie cups, like the thing that he came up with, he got the light part really good. But yeah, like,
and he's got a new light now. Now the light lasts like 5 days. It used to last like 3 days. Now it's like new and improved light. I was like, fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's spreading it all over. I mean, 5 days, dude, that can go a long
way. Yeah, go a long way. Yeah. You see Duke's eyes, he's like, he's thinking how far that fucking plane could fly in 5 days.
Yeah, Perth, Australia. Right home.
That's awesome. Well, you know, I don't know if you know Peach Sonic, those boys over there. He's got a cut of my JC. We got it over there like 10 years ago. It took us a lot of tries, but we actually got it in the house, so that was kind of cool. So what's up next for you, Brothers Grimm Soul? What you guys got? What's the plans for the end of 2017 and on into 2018?
Well, we got some cool new stuff coming out. So we're in the month of July officially now. So probably like September through December up to the Emerald Cup, you can look for some new stuff, some skunk hybrids, some skunky shit, as well as some good old fashioned greasy indica stuff, and yeah, and the rest is kind of business as usual. And of course, you know, whatever is intended for next year is like kind of what's more or less being worked on heavily now, you know. So everything's kind of like a year from like a release point, you know, or like a year, kind of like a backlog. So
absolutely, I understand. So a couple of just business stuff, just because we love you guys, love Soul, everything. So if you wanted to grab some Brothers Grimm gear, easiest place, fastest way, how can you get a hold of it?
In America, I would say,
yeah,
Seeds Here Now. That's our buddy James.
Okay.
Lightning quick on the shipping, like true professional, you know. If you're up in Canada, the Hemp Depot, they're our other spot. There was oh, son of a bitch, Seeds for Humanity. That was another one up in Canada. And then internationally, we go through Pure Sativa, so you can find it at the Attitude and pretty much any seed bank in the world. He pretty much covers all that. If you do have like a specific place that you are, if you are international, check out the Brothers Grimm website. That's brothersgrimmseeds.com. And then there will be a place for, like, I believe it's a big button that says buy our seeds. And then that'll give you a really big listing according to country and region. And you might see, like, there's a place in Germany if you're German, France, so on and so forth.
Awesome. That's my boy. Global distribution. We want to thank Duke Diamond. I'm fixing to turn my mods loose on him, by the way. I always forget to do that. I don't know if they have a ton of stuff waiting, but they don't get a chance often to talk to our guests. But I do appreciate it. This show will be recorded for prosperity. I hope you and Soul will share it. And the information laid down on this show, especially by you, has been nothing short of brilliant. Minnesota Nice, you got some questions, comments, any input here, my friend?
We do. It has been a great show so far, and I want to thank all the viewers right now. I think I just checked, and we were right about 420 live viewers a little bit ago. That is fucking amazing. I think we all should light up for that one. And definitely have a lot of questions that came in tonight. One of the biggest ones that I saw is, what's the difference between Apollo 11 and Apollo 13?
All right. So Apollo 13 is basically like a point moving toward, which is the Apollo 11, right? So it would be kind of like the P50 or the P75 that was to Cindy, as was to like Apollo 11. So solely took P75 male that was kind of exhibiting, you know, and like Princess and Genius, they're sisters, you know, they come out of the same bud. So take P75 and cross that to Genius. So like you got that Shiva skunk in there, but then it was back crossed one time to the Princess, making it 75% the original genes that are associated between Genius and Princess. And also the 25%, the 25% of the Shiva skunk should also be associated with the Genius. So you hit the Genius and you get the Apollo 11. So you ended up with more of a, it's still all very, very sativa dominant, very speedy, crystal clear. I got a lot of buddies that did a lot of drugs back home, and they would equate it to cocaine that lasts a long time, doesn't leave you jonesing. Some people say it was like crank. Some of the non-drug addicts were like espresso shot coffee, you know. I could relate to that one a lot. But yet you were very focused, and your mind wasn't all fucked up, man. Like you could really concentrate on things. So then you move forward, you have Apollo 11, Cindy 99, which is the cubed Princess. Using that male directly to Genius, it exhibited a lot more of the fruity, more floral type stuff, a lot more resin production. You got more of a Cinderella type bud out of it, but you still ended up with that really, really, really zippy, amped up feeling. But you got a lot more of the mind cloudiness, you know, like you still had the zipping thoughts, but you were kind of numbed out. Whereas like the A13, you could go take a math exam on it, you know. So the A13 was also a little more skunky, had more of this, you always got it baby shit, but everybody's like, yeah, it's spot on. We don't have any babies, so I don't know. But yeah, everybody's like, that's straight baby shit or fecal, skunky, a little bit fuely, you know. The A11, more gummy bears, sweet, floral, you know, pineapple a little bit. So those are the main two differences. So I still grow both. And I would say the difference being, if I had a lot of hard work to do and I had to like maybe think, I'd smoke the A13 before work. But if I had to go dig ditches and I didn't want to realize where I'm at or what I'm doing and just want to be off somewhere else in my head, I would have smoked the Apollo 11. That's the way I would explain it.
Awesome description.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. Hey, Duke, what was your first strain that you bred?
Oh, I can say like the first thing that I made seeds of with my cousins, and that was just another, well, it was three things. There was Afghani #1 with Sativa Seed Club Skunk 1, and then they had the basic skunk that they worked with, and then there was this other shit. I couldn't tell you what the fuck it was. But anyway, I helped them out with that. The very first thing that I made for me, I think it was just out of their Afghani Skunk 1 seed that I had, and I wanted to say it was Cincy hash plant that I hit, and then I also had some old White Widow that me and a friend split, and the Widow one did not. I remember it did not turn out too good. I was not too happy with that. But that's when I found out there's a lot more to that shit than just like, oh yeah, here's A and B, fuck it up, and here's some seeds. It should be awesome. And that really taught me, like, you know, you should probably read up a little bit more on what you're doing if you want to mix more good stuff. Because the other shit turned out great. you know. But it's like, why did it turn out great? And why was that complete shit? So, yeah. So
That's awesome. What would you consider to be your flagship strain for Brothers Grimm? What have you used them in the most crosses?
Well, as far as like stuff that's like actually like on a menu and released right now, I mean, Cinderella, it pretty much holds its weight through a lot of the crosses and everything because it was interbred, you know, back crossed 4 times, so that makes it more stable. Cinderella, she's not prone to being a herm. You know, she takes stress very, very well. So it kind of makes sense. And then also when you grow so much of something and when you breed it out a lot, even if you're not releasing it, you still get an idea of what you're passing on, what you're taking away, and kind of it'll lead you to make a more educated decision on like, what do I actually want to pollinate? What do I think will actually feasibly be good? And then you can do that, and then you grow it out and see, well, let's see if it actually went down like that. And, you know, like I said, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But, you know, if we hit 10 things, you know, we might find 5 of those 10 are pretty exceptional, you know, that only 2 make us go, wow. And like, you know, you might see 1 out of those 2 that finally make that final portion, you know. But through all the growing and breeding, we got to see, you know, exactly what was dominant, what was recessive. Did it breed true for that?
So it sounds like, yeah, it absolutely sounds like there's a ton of information or that you're giving, you know, for selecting cultivars and stuff like that. Now, I have a question that came in that wanted to know about avoiding a stereotype of becoming a pollen chucker. And with all these new designer strains that are hitting the tables these days, it makes it easier for people to want to cross, you know, Frosty strain A with Frosty strain B, you know, with not necessarily knowing what they're getting into. And, you know, do you have any tips or anything that you can drop for people that are new to breeding or just want to advance in their own strains that they're making in-house?
Yeah. So I would say pollen chucking or first step in a breeding program. You might have a little bit of foresight knowing what you want to go toward. The pollen chucker guy kind of has the same idea, like, I want this. This is what my idea of this is. Whether it happens or doesn't happen, that's where the work takes place, you know, where he's going to be growing up, you know, the largest amount of plants that he or she can grow, making educated decisions on why they're picking what they're picking, and to either further inbreed it or outcross it to get to the desired goal. If the desired goal was a clone of, you know, like a replica, they got their work cut out for them. If they're looking at the blender effect of, you know, piss times shit should give you pissy shit, then maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, or maybe it only happens 1 out of 100 females or whatever. That's where the work's going to take over. Now, if they're looking just to do that in the house, like, I mean, I've done the same shit back in the day. Like, you know, I'm looking for a clone. Like, I'm not looking to sell seeds. I'm not looking to call them consistent or anything. I'm just literally looking to make something that I think I can find. And then I got this clone and I'm calling it good. I'm calling it a day. So there's that aspect of it. But now when you start involving other people's money, other people's time, and other people's expectations, I think that's where the line gets crossed. So in days where it's heavily illegal, or even current day where it's illegal, I think the biggest disgrace a person can make toward another human being is waste their time, possibly the freedom with said time, to be growing something that did not come through as it was advertised or expected. So that being said, when somebody crosses that line to say, hey, I'm selling these now, and out of this is what you can expect. I'm crossing the new flavor of the month to last month's flavor of the month. and this should be a banana, strawberry, whatever. If you grow all those out and you spent, you know, the 200 or 300 that a lot of those expensive seeds go for, or hell, maybe you got them for a bargain. You know, maybe they were 20 for the pack. You still spent 3 months of your life in space, and you spent money on electricity and all this to find out that strawberry, banana, whatever, smells like a skunk's ass. Or maybe it doesn't smell like anything. Maybe it just smells very bland and not a lot of resin. Maybe it doesn't get you high. Maybe it harms. Whatever the thing may be, you did not get what you paid for. And furthermore, insult to injury, you've wasted your time, possibly freedom, etc. So I think that if you're planning on moving from making that cool little strain that you're probably going to keep a clone of, or like, you know, you give them to your online buddies, you all grow them out, just having fun, that's one thing. But if you're going to evolve into like the market, like you're going to be selling these seeds, you know, honesty is the best policy. If you know it's unstable, you just tell them, hey, it's fucking unstable. But I do notice that 1 out of 50 comes up like this. And the consumer's educated decision could say, okay, I'm going to take that risk or I'm not going to take that risk. And that's cool. But to say, yeah, here it is. My favorite fucking phrase is now available in seed form. Okay, now that.
Oh my God.
That fucking, like, I mean, it pisses me off. Because, like, you know, I'll see some guys that, like, I've been friends with for fucking years and shit. And, like, it's their shit. And, like, sometimes the person actually has it and sometimes they don't. But nonetheless, even if they do, and even if they breed, right? Even if they take 3, 4, fucking 20 fucking steps, and them seeds don't come up like that, why the fuck do you think that everybody hunts down that chem dog claim? How many fucking seeds are out there that say chem dog in seed form? And, you know, this is you can grow this. And dude, it ain't nothing fucking close. Half the time it don't even look like it, let alone, you know, it. So it's like, don't waste people's time, you know, to say, you know, this is my best representation of it. Or, you know, my stab at it, or just say, look, you know, this is a, you know, a cube of a clone. You know, you're going to find things that are like chem dog or whatever. And, you know, don't call it, you know, chem dog IBL or whatever. You know, it's not fair unless you've actually done it. But it takes, you know, it takes a lot, man. It takes a whole lot of time. But if you're going to go that route and you are going to say, hey, I do want to put this in seed form, one, prepare to be invested in that for a long period of time, to have the space and, you know, availability to continue doing what you're doing, to also educate yourself, not just in botanicals and horticulture and agriculture, but, you know, start delving into the genetic side of it. And a lot of cool stuff. You know, it doesn't have to be a weed book. You know, like a lot of this stuff is just overall botanical knowledge. Like it can apply to a lot of different industries that haven't been illegal, you know, prohibited, you know, stuff that science was allowed to flourish in. So you can look at the tulip breeding, you know, then, like, you know, that's got a lot of insight on colors and, you know, how genes work and what chromosomes are and how gene pairs work and you know, dominant and recessive traits and things to look for, you know, a lot of little tricks. You can look at tomatoes. That's another pretty good one. So yeah, just start educating yourself and really delve into it, and then apply the knowledge that you're actually getting. Don't read the fucking book and say, oh well, you know, it says, you know, I should be having at least this many to select, but fuck it, I found one, I'm good. So, you know, don't mediocrity, man. Don't let that happen with what you're dealing with and what you're working with, and don't accept mediocrity from yourself. You know, don't settle for shit. Don't settle for less. Always go hard and pick the best and do the best that you can. And then, yeah, applying that knowledge and actually work it. And that's not to say that you can't just make a F1 hybrid and it not be good. I'm not saying that at all. Like, you can make some really awesome shit and pretty easy little stuff. But, you know, test it for starters. See what you're actually working with. See if it's, you know, stable and not wanting to freak out, you know. And fuck, man, you might make something that's super awesome. And if you grow it in a perfect condition, then you got no problems. But, you know, you induce that little light leak like I did to test something and it freaks out. So if I was going to sell those seeds, I would say, hey, grown in a proper climate, good grower, you're good to go. But this thing is going to let you know if you piss it off. So I would say, you know, for not a beginner or even a novice grower, I would say for more of an experienced grower. And that used to be something that was commonplace when you were buying seeds back in the day. A lot of the big names were saying, you know, grower level experience kind of went along with the category, you know. Certain things you could give it to anybody and they'll have a good result. Other things, they would just get mad and maybe give up on growing or just be pissed at you. So just have a, you know, somewhere you're going, test it, grow it out, learn something, books. Internet can be cool, but there's a lot of bullshit on the internet, so you have to weed through it. Yeah, and just do the best that you can, and don't accept less than, you know, the best that you can do.
I couldn't help, Duke, while I was listening, notice the change between times. So back in the day, we'd go to Amsterdam. Well, we'd research, and then we'd go to Amsterdam, and then we'd smuggle the fucking seeds back, and then we'd grow them illegally. And I don't know, we had a lot at stake. And nowadays, you can click on Instagram and buy a pack of seeds instantaneously. So it's, I think we're also dealing with a different little bit of an element. I notice a lot of times I was talking about this the other day on the show. Growers that grow 5 seeds, 10 seeds in their entire life. And then I'm sure you deal with people like me in Colorado that are growing tens of thousands at one time in one building. It's kind of neat what you see, again, from the old days to the new days, what we see across a line. Again, I want to thank Duke. Malik, did you have a question for Duke Diamond?
We have Corey Ruster. He said he'd like to know more about the female clone they used to cross Einstein male.
I don't know what it is. That might be a better one. A better one for Cole.
Okay, I got you. And we will have. We were laughing a while ago in channel. Mr. Soul is welcome on this show. Want to make sure everybody knows that. I've known Tommy a long time. Like, sometimes I saw Tommy, I think we sat outside a bar in his truck and did the same thing we're basically doing now. So that's what that was all about. Plus, Tommy's a much different person than Soul. So me and Soul will be on a much different show. I hope you guys will go back and watch the show, learn the stuff. You know, we don't have that many people on the show that talk about philella breeding. So, and I also urge you to seek out Duke Diamond. The guy knows an enormous amount breeding cannabis, and all in all, just generally a good guy. So we're getting on to the end of the final 30 minutes of the show. Got a couple of things I want to go over real quick. Let's see here. Back to the silly thing. We'll do this one time real quick. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we knew testers in-house. So tester network means you get in touch with me. You basically impress me that you have the common sense to give me the information I need. People want to turn it into this fucking form or a website. I mean, I can assure you the people that I want to work with know who they are already. If you got to ask me 5 emails, you're not the guy. It's not that complicated. My favorite one lately is I've been sending some stuff out, and I guess I didn't do my screening process. They're asking me, can you tell me about this? Fuck, I fucked that one up because you're supposed to be telling me about the damn thing. Let's see. Deadlights, told you guys Deadlights won second place at the CBD Cup in NorCal. Our good friends North Star Genetics are one of our partnership breeders. They are, the Pennywise male is loaded into the room now. So we will have those back. The truth is we made about 2,000 the first time and Duke's been hitting to it. We made sure we ran 2,000 of the damn things. We wanted to make sure. And then by the time we found out we had something really special, we got to make it some more. So that's kind of how that works out. As Queen is on the one-off contest. I got to spend a couple times on the one-off contest. In a perfect world, we're going to all meet at Soil King at the end of the year, and you guys are going to bring some of your Jazz Queen in, and then we're going to have some kind of contest, and you're going to win all the TGA strains in 10 packs. In an imperfect world, we're going to have a photo contest online. The problem ensues that we're all fucking busy, and I don't know how to run a cannabis competition. I'm harvesting a damn charity garden. So, but we are going to have a contest, and somebody is going to win a 10-pack of all 45 TGA strains. The way you do this is you grow out Jazz Queen. Now, I haven't been tagged very often yet. I gave 10,000 of them away. I threw 6,000 of them off the stage in Cali. You can buy them now at the normal distributors, Hemp Depot, Attitude, all throughout the U.S., all across grow by U.S. If you want to grow the Jazz Queen, if you want to win a 10-pack of the entire TGA line, you got to get on the contest. It's called a one-off contest. One strain, one grower, one winner. Can't tell you much more about it than that. I'd love to have 30 of you meet me up at Soil King's place in Cloverdale in November, but can I promise that will happen? Not really. Can I promise that at least we'll have a damn photo competition here on the show and get the winner on here and give somebody the fucking whole shitload of genetics? That we can promise. So get involved in the one-off contest. It's fun. So I think that's pretty much. I got to kick it back over again to Minnesota Nice. We're going to take it back to the growing together. Let's do some business, my friend.
Absolutely. So just want to thank all the weed nerds for all the donations on the Growing Together website tonight. It's much appreciated. If anybody tuned in that doesn't know, we are using the Growing Together website to host our giveaway links. Sub, you have a real bad echo. Can you mute your mic real quick? Sorry, bud. Okay, so we use the Growing Together website to host the giveaways for the sponsors of the Weed Nerd live show. We have lots of great companies that are donating products to us. We have NPK Industries that has their line of raw soluble nutrients, and they're donating these items to our organization so that we can use them to gain traction to raise donations. We are helping people out in need. We're going to put the money towards mainly children who are ill, need help going through treatment. Kid even needs a new bicycle. That's what Growing Together is for. We're going to raise money for the community. Those in need. There's people that need it more than we do. And just want to encourage everybody, if you go over to our website and participate in one of the giveaways, there is a button you could donate through PayPal to us, and you could set the amount. Nobody's out to judge the amount of donation, but any little bit helps. And if we could all turn our couches over tonight and shake out some loose change, that would be great. So just want to thank everyone.
Jump over to Growing Together and check out the new donation page that we set up, guys.
So tell us a little bit about this page, Malik, Mr. Not Speaking Ever. Tell us a little bit about this page you've been blasting up all night. What's going on with this thing?
We're putting all of our Gleam account links on the page, and the page is a motivation to donate to Growing Together, but we're not asking for donations to enter the Gleam giveaways. And we got like $120 value of NPK Industries, the microbe 2-part and the Grow and Bloom 2-part, and some humics, fulvics, and kelp. And I use these products in my garden. They rock. NPK Industries, raw solubles. People know about him. Harley Smith himself, he's a pimp. And Method 1 PPS, we got up there right now too, and we're going to have more up every week. So stay tuned, everybody, for sure.
Let's make sure we get a link up there. I mentioned it a little earlier. Let's get a link up there, Gleam link, maybe some kind of purchase. We could even do it cheap if you want to on a personalized signed copy of Dank. So I do priority shipping on Dank, so it'll be there in like 2 days. So if you guys want to hook up something like on every show, or at the start of the show, we hook it up, and then whoever wins gets some special signature. I'm not much of an artist, but whatever you guys want.
That'd be great.
Yep. And for all the weed nerds who like the giveaways and everything, you need to understand why they're in place. It's to help us raise the donations. That's why the show began in the first place, was based on love and compassion. So
I'm going to tell the story now real quick. We got a little bit of time. I got to write this down for Minnesota Nice, but I'm going to tell it one more time because he asked me to, and telling has so much more emotion. So when we first started, yeah, I know. When we, Sid's like, write it down. So when we first started, when we just first started the show, and I was in Soil King, and I saw a jar, and there was a jar, and there was a lady, and I feel sometimes cruel when I talk about this, but I am who I am. I say shit the way I say it. There's a picture of a woman on a jar. She's fucked up. She had duct tape on her eye, man. She said, fuck. I was like, what the fuck happened? And they're like, well, she had a stroke and she went to the hospital and she had 12 more fucking strokes and she's got 2 kids and she ain't had a day off in fucking 6 years, and the story of America and hard working and bad luck. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I put a little money in the jar. It sit there and got me stewing. So I'd been on the GrowTube roundtable and I saw Dago saying, hey, buy somebody a microphone. And in no way am I diminishing people raising money on YouTube shows. Okay. That's not where this is going. But I was like, okay, raise some money for this guy for a better microphone and raise some. I was like, wait a minute. I ain't gonna do that. I'm not being a pompous asshole, but I got a little money. So I'm not gonna raise money. If somebody needs something for my show, I'm just gonna get it for them. So I was like, what? I got an idea. Why don't we raise money for somebody? And on the very first try, we raised $2,000 for Jordan Jackson. Soul King matched it with 2, and another grow shop matched it. So it's $5,000. And I saw that. I didn't get this. I got to touch the check, but I didn't get to present the check. But I was there on the presenting. You can go back and watch this live. And something fucking happened, guys. I'm telling you. Something happened that day. It happened. I was like, well, this fucking feels good. And I'm a fuck up. I'm crazy. I've done some of the dumbest shit in my life. I say stupid shit. I got a fucking war online right now over 4 letters in the alphabet. The one thing I did was I helped this woman and she fucking appreciated it. And so the next week we helped somebody else. And the next week we helped somebody else. And we got it to the point where we can't get any more money out of you guys, really. I mean, I don't mean to diminish your donations, because thank you for your donations. But me and Minnesota Nice got the idea of, well, we got people always offering to give a shit. People are always giving me stuff that I don't even need. So we formed this. Minnesota Nice and Malik formed it. I cannot take credit for it. I didn't type a keystroke. They formed Growing Together, and I passed it off to them. And that's what this has become. It's also a platform for me to rant and rail and act like a dumbass. It's a platform for me to hang out with my friends like Duke Diamond, have my good friend on Soul. Next week, check out that transition. We are going to have Phylos Bioscience. So we've been talking about this shit over and over and over. You guys want to know, we got the whole God's pussy thing. I am having to send them a recut of my JTR mail. Either I made a mistake or they made a mistake. This is going to be really open. Either Badger went up there and when he was washing all the little stemmy pieces off alcohol, he mixed one of them up. And I want you to know, I don't believe that. Badger is an exacting fellow. Or my 2 male clones are the same. Well, we know that's not true. Or someone messed up at Phylos Bioscience. No one's pointing any blame. There's no drama. They're sending me a new kit and we're going to run it again. So we're going to have the Phylos guys on here talking about genetic sexing. Going to have them talking about the mapping, the universe. You guys have questions about the fact that Blue Dream is apparently related to every fucking strain ever created. And that has to do with data entry. So that's going to be really cool. Of course, The Flav is coming back out. It should be out in about 2 weeks. So that's pretty exciting. You guys can follow me on the WeedNerd 420. Make sure that you follow everybody along a line. Brothers Grimm, you guys can pop that up for me, Malik, if you would. Brothers Grimm has a couple. Brothers Grimm has an IG, and Duke has his own IG. Follow these guys along. As you guys know, I had Duke on for a reason. I think he is one of the most soft-spoken, talented breeders in the game today. The guy certainly knows more than I fucking know about breeding, and I'm happy to have him as a friend. Duke, thank you, brother. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. I'm going to kick us out. We'll see you guys over on the other. I'll do a little hour after show. We're going to talk about this 4-letter word here a little bit, and we will see you on the other side. So you know the deal. Do something nice for somebody else. Hey, we got one. Who's that? Oh, that's Baby Jackson. All right, we got to show this. So here's Baby Jackson. Y'all want to see where your money goes? Oh, God damn it, I'm going to start crying again. Y'all will see where your money goes.
Amen.
I'll get Minnesota Nights crying. I bet your ass. There you go, brother. That's what we do. Okay. That's what we do. Anyway, y'all be excellent to each other and have a tank day. Thanks out, Minnesota Nights.
When you in my zone, old E, live in the garden. When you in my zone, smoke sessions. Yo, pass me the mic, homie. Pass me the mic like it's a blunt. I'ma light up these lyrics and spit the funk. My K-Lou bass was shaking my trunk. Leezy broke the beat down, made the crowd jump. I'm dope, came here to get you all lifted. Coming off of the top, it's unscripted. Hit this, hold it in, then exhale. Grow with the great white shake, killer whale, let's blow. Bomb, get this on, where the party stay popping from dusk to dawn. Squares get gone, make room, we here. Came stepping through the door in my custom gear. All in the ear.